Sony recently presented their latest state of play, showcasing a bunch of new releases that will be coming to the PS5. While there were a bunch of cool games featured, obviously there was one standout that was above the rest, and that was LEGO Horizon Adventures. Oh my god, how majestic, how innovative. Stand aside second greatest PS5 game ever, Astrobot. They've got Aloy, they've got Varl, and best of all, they've got Lego robot dinosaurs. Boy oh boy.
Oh, look at those chompers.
Just kidding. Kinda, but not really. Obviously, we're here to talk about Ghost of Yotei. Greetings and salutations, everyone. It's me, AZTV, and this is AZTV News. Developer Sucker Punch has finally revealed what they've been cooking up in the lab after the masterpiece that was Ghost of Tsushima. Cue Ghost of Yotei. Now, I actually want to talk about the content of the trailer, but first we have to address the elephant in the room, which of course is the controversy that has been brewing from the choice of a female protagonist. Now, just to be clear, the large majority of players do not care about this stuff, but there are two very loud minorities who cannot help but wage an endless war of the terminally online. The first are the games journalists who will always go out of their way to champion diversity in games, even if it is in the most antagonizing and agonizing virtue signally way. And the second is the anti-woke, anti-DEI crowd who start foaming at the mouth at the very slightest perception of a sign of wokeness in a video game. Honestly, I feel like both these groups just hate video games at this point. And if at all possible, they should just be ignored. Real gamers don't actually care about this stuff. Mentally ill people who doom scroll on Twitter do. I swear I'm not projecting. Content creators care about it because it's rage bait and it gets a lot of engagement online, which means they get to make money. While I'll admit it is certainly a bold choice to pivot from Jin Sakai to a female lead, I'm sure Sucker Punch is aware of this, and they're basically going to use this as free press and marketing because people with nothing better to do with their lives are going to talk about it. Again, I swear I'm not projecting. Okay, I'm projecting a little bit with that one. Gamers like good games, full stop. But Axis, cis-het white men have maintained a patriarchal control of the gaming industry since its inception. We should be exhaustive in our efforts to be as inclusive as possible. Representation matters. I agree that representation in media does matter, but the relentless identity woke scolding does nothing but demonizes one side and pushes them to become more radical. And the gamers who get stuck in the middle of all this, they will just stop engaging with gaming spaces and they'll stop engaging with gaming community. But Axis, game is woke. Women can't be samurai. Well, even if I ignored the fact that the definition of what a samurai is has actually changed over time, it could have meant anything from a man who fights with a weapon to a person serving under nobility to a military position. From what I've read, there seem to actually be historical accounts of women who were samurai, or at least something akin to it. But we can ignore all of that because as someone who has beaten Ghost of Tsushima multiple times, check out my gaming channel. I uploaded my entire PC playthrough, DLC included, link in the description. I can say with the utmost confidence, anyone who has actually played Ghost of Tsushima would know that Jin Sakai stopped being a samurai fairly early in the game. All right, time to backstab. How do we do it? Easy enough. It's literally why the name of the game is Ghost of Tsushima and not Samurai of Tsushima. Additionally, if you're someone who's actually familiar with the game, you'd know that the Ghost of Tsushima is more mythos and folktale, as the idea of who and or what the ghost is or represents changes depending on where you are on the island. And that is the impetus for Ghost of Yotei. This comes from Andrew Goldfarb, Senior Communications Manager at Sucker Punch via Sony's PlayStation blog. We also wanted to continue to innovate, to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond Jin Sakai's story in the island of Tsushima, and we shifted our focus to the idea of the ghost instead. We wanted to explore what it could mean to have a new hero wearing a ghost mask and uncovering a new legend. This led us to Ghost of Yotei, a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, a new region of Japan to explore. So there you have it. I shall reserve my judgment of the game for when I play the game when the game comes out. As of now, all we have is the trailer, and that's what I'll be focusing on a little later. And when you see the identity politics crowd getting all riled up, just remember they don't really like video games. I don't even think they actually play video games, so their opinions do not matter. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about this teaser trailer. First things first, holy shit. Ghost of Tsushima is a gorgeous game. Sucker Punch does a really great job with color contrast, the way they create these picturesque scenes that induce tranquility and like serenity and calm and beauty. I honestly believe they are among the best in the world at like environment presentation. But this one scene of Mount Yotei is absolutely jaw-dropping, and it makes me wonder to what degree of exploration and interaction will the player get to engage with the mountain itself. Will it be just an astonishing vista in the background, or will we get closer to a Skyrim type treatment? If you see it, you can reach it. Let's continue. Now, right around 1 minute 55 seconds, we start getting into more interesting things that might give us clues about how the game's gonna work. So this shot with the horses invokes one simple question. Who is the enemy now? This shot makes me think of Mongolians. However, the game does take place 300 years after the Ghost of Tsushima, and at the beginning of the trailer it says 1603, and historically this would actually kind of track because the real Mongol invasion of Japan ended around 1280. So honestly, it's anyone's guess who the primary enemy will be in this game. The other thing that I noticed was this instrument on Atsu's back. Now, this makes me think we're going to have those little musical features that we had in Ghost of Tsushima. Perhaps it will have an effect on the weather and environment, and more interestingly, they may bring back something similar to the song soothing bits from the DLC, but if they did that, I'd be curious how the controls would function. Playing the flute was simply keeping the little cursor in line, but now, especially after seeing what Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did with the piano, I'm wondering if Sucker Punch might try something a little bit more sophisticated with a strumming instrument. Now, let's move on to this scene where it appears Atsu is facing off against 6 people. If these are enemies, it appears we're getting a glimpse at a few different enemy types. The ones that really stand out to me are, starting from the far left, the first one, who looks like he might be akin to this game world's version of a caster. Maybe somebody who specializes in like poisons, or maybe some type of alchemy. Numbers 2 and 4 are also interesting because of the lack of swords in addition to the Hanya mask. I wonder if these are going to be more roguish, roguelike type characters, potentially some kunai user maybe, which I think would be really interesting because of how insanely powerful kunai were in the first game. I think it'd be nice to have a challenge like that to fight against, and that might make the game a little bit more fun and make the combat feel a little bit more challenging and balanced. And finally, at number 6, this hulking brute who does not appear to have a sword either. I'll be honest, I can't even imagine what kind of abilities this guy would have, but yeah, he's scary. Now, this scene with the wolf is very interesting. I'm going to take a big leap here, and I'm going to say, could we be getting a furry companion? Maybe. And if so, I wonder how the combat dynamics are going to work with the companion. If it is the case that we get a pet, that would be awesome. And as we've learned with the foxes, they're going to let us be able to pet the good boy. So, can't go wrong with that. Additionally, this is where we fully see the dual katanas drawn. This makes me curious as to what's going to happen with like the stance switching mechanic that was in the first game. Also, I'm just curious about the general flow and animations of Atsu's combat. What kind of sword dancing is she going to be able to do? And things get a bit more intriguing at the end of the trailer. So in the final few seconds, we see what could be the Way of the Flame being used. So perhaps the Mythic Tails will be returning to bring us new cool abilities. After that, we see Katsu wielding a Kusarigama, which is the sickle-like weapon with the chain and the weight on the end of it. So I'm wondering if there's going to be like weapon swapping, maybe potentially different skill trees for different weapons. I think that'd be a really cool addition to the game. There appears to be a rifle in play now. With that in mind, also remember, we have not seen her with a bow. Now this brings up a concern about range combat. A rifle, that's cool, but it's very loud. So maybe there's a trade-off happening here where instead of being able to pick off most of an enemy camp with heavy arrows and light arrow headshots, now maybe if you want to be stealth, you have to put yourself more at risk, get a little bit closer to the action. And if you want to go range, well, you can still do that, but you're going in loud. And honestly, I wouldn't mind that trade-off. And from there, the trailer ends with a hopeful release year of 2025. I have to say, personally, I'm so excited for this. I want to get into Yotei. I want to see what's in store for Atsu. I want to see what kind of conflict she's going to get in. I literally just completed my 3rd playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima, along with my first time doing the Iki Island DLC only 3 months ago, which, by the way, I'll say it again. Make sure you head over to youtube.com/@AZTV-gaming. This is where I've been posting all my current and future gameplay playthroughs. Subscribe to that for some fun gameplay stuff. Subscribe to this channel for more news and soon reviews and some other things. Links to everything can be found below. And until next time, stay chill, keep it real. Peace.